Black Feather.
But a quick Glaive Fortress pickup.
Yeah, so you're seeing that Glaive, that Fortress. Obviously, they will try and pick up Black Feather. They do feel like, having. And Red Wolf's an excellent. He's really good at that Vox, that Ringo, but that's too squishy. That's betting too much into one hero, and especially going up against like a very dive-heavy comp from Team Clytia so far.
All right, well, we'll see how they're going to round things out. It's going to be the Arden as the last pick for SK.
You know what? This is actually a very good composition coming out. I do feel like they have to play very passive. They have to know exactly how to maneuver their jungle for the side of SK Gaming. And once they get to that late game, they'll have a much easier time where most likely Red Wolf will be diving onto that Scarf. He'll be trying to make plays deep into that back zone, and as long as he has the reflex blocks up, a lot of things can happen from this. Glaive will commit himself too far, Adagio will throw out that Verse of Judgment, and things will blow up.
Things will blow up.
Things will blow up.
I mean, they have control, of course, coming out of this Arden. You got Blackfeather can dive into those back lines. If the fight happens on your terms in your location, big versus judgments come out. They can fight around that. So yeah, I like SK Gaming's draft, but Clytia, I don't know how this Scarf's gonna play out for them because we said they're kind of this early game oriented type team. But if they're able to hang on, this could be that late game key that they need.
Yeah, and they do have that opportunity as long as they're able to like wither out. They can use that Glaive, that Fortress, do a lot of early game invasions, and they can try and snowball it. Like it makes things very difficult because Red Wolf does need that time to farm in lane.
Definitely. All right, well, let's see how it all plays out, guys. We've loaded into the game right now, so let's see what Action Jackson and Excoundrel have to say about this business.
All right, well, it's SK Gaming up against Clytia. Clytia, of course, just coming off of that very one-sided defeat up against Team Secret. This is going to determine who gets the more points and seeding out of the two teams between SK and Clytia moving into the live championship. So it's still a very important game. I'm interested to see which one of these guys can come out ahead. We've seen some substitutions from each of these guys. Red Wolf and Jetpacks now playing, and Slip being subbed in too. So a few different faces, but very skilled players nonetheless.
Absolutely. I just want to make a point to both Humanist and Rome. Mother's Day in the UK was 15th of March, so we've missed the mark by a long way. If we were
Cream. He might have missed the mark here too. We're going to have to get back to that point. Although Jetpacks, look at the turnaround damage he's able to do there. Getting some nice return onto Justman. Cream just barely able to escape. You know what's really bad? I have to celebrate both Mother's Day. Because my mother is American and my family's American, but we live in England. So she expects me to celebrate both.
Hey, you should celebrate both. Your mum is a very special person.
She
I
is,
would know.
But... Okay, hang on a second. We got a fight going on here. I'll diss you back later on. Justman going in. Cream easily picked up as Red Wolf gets knocked into the wall too. Very nice afterburn coming out of John. And now Justman is in a bit of a bad position here as well. Jetpack's doing some good damage. John trying to defend him. They wanted to bait him onto the scout trap there, I think, but Jetpack's still relatively healthy. Speaking of your mothers, right?
I feel like I was towing the line a little bit
when your mama jumps in the water, all the water jumps out. How you feel now?
Damn. I didn't even know what to say. I guess my mum's just hydrophobic or something. I feel like we're towing the line here, Jackson.
We are.
let's focus on some vainglory. I hadn't even talked about the composition just yet. I really feel like SK have got all the tools they need to deal with the late game Scarf, and realistically there isn't many obstacles for Red Wolf to have to negotiate to make sure that he is straight on top and dealing with that dragon as best as possible. But, he's realistically only got to be looking out for that afterburn, and after that, it's clean sailing for that Rose offensive onto top of Scarf and then able to just output the damage. But it's a really good start for Team Clytia right now.
Yeah, you can see Jetpacks is going to be having to run away pretty quickly here. Does have good damage turn around, but with Cream so low already, it's hard for him to be that front land Jetpacks needs in order to do damage from the safety of the back line. Red Wolf here realizes, I think, that there's still 3 members of Clytia nearby, but these guys, they're going to be rotating with Slip, in fact, into the jungle, just in case Cream and Jetpacks are trying to collapse onto them.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think Team Clytia, John and Justman have the ability to be aggressive in this jungle. I feel like they are missing a trick if they don't apply a lot of pressure in lane or don't apply a lot of pressure looking for counter jungling opportunities. You know, we've talked time and time again about, oh, I don't know what you're doing there, Justman. Be a little bit careful. Jumping in 2 versus 3. I feel like you are missing an opportunity to really put the game in your favor when you have such a strong early jungle duo in the form of Justman. Sorry, in the form of Fortress and Glaive, you do run the risk of losing your opportunity to snowball if you don't utilize them to their best effect in the early game. I've talked about how I think Fortress should be used in the early game, and I think Glaive pairs with him very, very well. But you do realistically have to be hyper aggressive, either in lane looking for ganks or just going on to the opposing jungle duo. I think ignore Arden if you go for a jungle duo invade. Really look to counter and focus down Adagio, especially pre-6. Looks like they're going to go for a lane gank here, though.
Red Wolf has the presence of mind to back away, though. His spidey senses are tingling. Afterburn goes the wrong way. John couldn't quite position before knocking him into H-Slip there. H-Slip doing some good damage already, though.
Yeah.
Cream, oh, he's actually going for this one. Kind of surprised by that. Jetpacks, one more attack would do it. Cream finds the kill. John very low, can't really afford to go back in. So it's going to be the first of the game picked up for SK.
Yeah, there you go. SK find themselves some, I guess, release or reprieve in this game from an early poor start for them. They're actually taking a lead in the gold right now. I think that potentially is just due to us.
There's a lot of damage out of Jetpacks right now, but look, John's coming back in with 8-Slip rotating from base. They are going to trade kills there, but now Cream in a bad position. Red Wolf, you can see he was thinking about helping out there, but it was just a little bit too risky for him to go, and I think he knew that Cream would be dead by the time he got there. I mean, Clytia, they're taking advantageous trades, but they are trades. This is not, for example, like last game where Team Secret were just dominating completely.
I don't feel like Team Clytia have to be aggressive and look for counter jungling or press into the enemy jungle. They don't realistically need to. They have the late game. They have the ability to deal with aid slip in large sense. So why take the risk of just giving away free gold to SK to Team Clytia at this point in time? SK definitely do not need to be super aggressive.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there. I think they are going to scale quite nicely into the later stages of the game. What they have going for them at the moment is, of course, Jetpack's doing a lot of damage. Notably, he's picked up some shield pierce already. So maybe working for an early broken myth, which would be a lot of damage in the early game fights. But, you know, they don't have the Serpent's Mask on Red Wolf yet. It's obviously going to hinder their ability to fight a little bit. Flare spots out the gold mine attempt. John wants to steal it away, but he can't get there in time. And now the fight gonna break out. Red Wolf currently leading the charge here. Dragon's Breath has been leveled up by 8-Slip. He's going on to Cream. Doesn't find the damage he needs, so, and John, look at the AoE. It's not quite enough. Can't find the kills there as 8-Slip is forced to back away. Kills even up by SK as they take the gold mine as well. Maybe look for 8-Slip here too. Rose offensive. Look at the damage coming out of Red Wolf. He picks up the kill. He is very low. The turret, one more shot, should find it. And he doesn't, unfortunately, get the shield from on point off hitting minions. Even still, not a bad trade given the lane pressure it provides SK.
Yeah, heal just about to come up for Jetpacks as well. So, yeah, a little bit unlucky there for Red Wolf to lose his life. He did go very aggressive and look to exploit some potentially poor choice of positioning for 8-Slip, given the fact that his team did just get wiped out in the jungle and he was retreating from that team fight. SK definitely looking pretty good right now, and I do like, I think Rome picked up on this early on, I do like the fact that the Serpent's Mask is likely going to be the first item of choice for Blackfeather. You know, this hero really thrives off the ability to lifesteal, and obviously the Serpent's Mask gives him a potential to be aggressive as well. I do feel like Shiver Steel is a little bit weak. It's good in certain competitions and good against certain champs. When you are looking to delete someone on the opponent team, I just think Serpent's Mask is the better item of choice for a first item anyway. John going to be aggressive here, not going to be in range or not going to be looking for that afterburn, and Red Wolf going to be fairly safe sat by his turret. Arden going to roam up now and give him that safety of the Vanguard as well.
Yep, safety in numbers here for SK as they group up towards the lane. On the flip side of the map, Clytia spreading out a little bit more with Justman heading back to base to pick up some items and regenerate some health. John could be looking for Red Wolf here, though. It's a bit more difficult to set up this gank now that Red Wolf is past level 6. He should be able to Rose Offensive away, and indeed he does. Look at that. He took, you know, a fifth of his health in damage. That's very little. But Cream, what is he doing all the way out here? Blood for Blood, gonna get him over the wall, juking out 8-Slip a little bit. In fact, he's so tanky that he can keep the fight going. Gauntlet lands right onto 8-Slip. Red Wolf picks up the kill. Just Man likely to follow. John wants jetpacks. He has the afterburn, but a fountain comes up from Cream, and now John has no way to pick up the kills. He'll be going down an ace for SK Gaming at about 9 minutes, and their 8th kill too.
Yeah, and they have the comp to deal with the Scarf as well right now. The issue I feel for Team Clytia is they have, again, this one threat composition. And yes, okay, John on Glaive is a threat, but realistically, it's not the main form of damage that the Clytia team is relying on to win the game. They are relying on Scarf, you know, when you pick a Scarf in this situation. And this is kind of the paradox that you have when you are thinking about a composition. You pick Scarf, you need people to protect Scarf, but I feel like without Arden, it's a lot more difficult to run this composition. I realistically feel like the best composition to run Scarf in is Arden, Glaive, Scarf, because Arden's Gauntlet provides so much, you know, in terms of peel for the Scarf. I don't really know what Fortress is doing for Scarf at this point. You pick the Fortress to run with Glaive in the jungle, and you look to be aggressive and give Scarf the freedom of lane, not feeling like he's going to be under pressure in terms of ganks, and can do very well and nicely against Blackfeather and always retreat if he has to post level 6. Speaking of that, Cream.
Whoa, that's a lot of damage right away from Jetpacks coming in with Cream. Afterburn gonna stop him from going a little bit too deep, but John doesn't have the follow-up. 8-Slips too far away. It's going to be another 2 kills picked up for SK Gaming, and they're really starting to pile the pressure on, doubling the kills of their opponents.
Yeah, and they are looking really strong right now. And this is my qualm with Fortress, okay? I talked about it previously, Jackson. I feel like if you pick Fortress, especially in a composition like this, he should realistically be used in an aggressive sense. In the jungle, you pair it with Glaive. That's a very strong early game combo. You should be either ganking continuously, or you should be looking to counter jungle and put pressure on potentially a weak jungle lane, or a weak, especially early, weak jungle combo of Adagio and Arden. And if you pick Scarf and you're not intending to have that early game pressure, you should be picking something like Arden instead. It's way better at peeling for this Scarf, and I don't really feel like Fortress offers anything in terms of protection for 8-Slip on this Scarf, and I feel this is where Team Clytia are starting to struggle. There's nothing, you know, it's too easy for Blackfeather to just get straight on top of this dragon.
I've got to agree with you, and I think this is one of Clytia's weaknesses that has been exposed in the second qualifier. Their draft hasn't always been up to snuff, and partially I think it's because they're kind of the new kids on the block. I mean, their first appearance, really, although some of the players have been around for a while, as a team, their first appearance was in the first qualifier for Spring, whereas SK, this is an amalgamation of several SK lineups that have existed for a very long time. Red Wolf, in fact, used to be on Team Red, which was SK before SK even entered the Vainglory scene as an organization. So these guys have so much experience. I think that's showing right now. Clytia, they need to try and learn from these games as they move forward into the championships. But right now, look at the engagement. 8-Slip goes down, immediately can't get the Dragon's Breath off. Just Man caught up in the gauntlet. John has to bail out his life there, trying to run back to the turrets. These fights aren't really fights at this point. They're just SK rolling over Team Clytia.
Yeah, absolutely. I think John stepping a little bit forward too. I do feel as well, if you're going to play up against Adagio and an Arden, you should be thinking about an early Crucible at the very least. I know Fountain is super important, and yes, I agree, going for a Fountain early is nice, because you know, you may be looking to fight pre-6, but I just feel like a Crucible should be your real point of action here. You have to deal with 2 team-wide CCs, right? So why not have the Crucible? I guess he's just lacking the gold to get it at this point in time because of how far behind they are. But then you have to make that decision realistically about, you know, the armor that, you know, I just feel like Crucible needs to be focused in on, and potentially that early reflex block for Just Man as well. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to be too harsh to these guys. They've come off a very devastating loss, I think, versus Team Secret. It was a complete whitewash. They're probably not feeling, as I say that again.
8-Slip. Yeah, I mean, you can't even go into your jungle at all at this point, right?
It-
You've got
SK
to
are
expect SK being nearby.
Yeah, SK are just looking rampant right now. You know, I can't criticize Team Clytia too much because they've just come off a pretty devastating loss 2-0. They're probably mentally not quite in the right mindset. And SK look geared up after their pretty devastating loss as well, and a couple of subs coming in and out. They definitely look like they are wanting to secure this third place position in the qualifier.
Well, John, look at that. I mean, he's on the front line for so long there, but still couldn't really deal the damage he needed to. Cream is very low, but he's going to throw that down that gauntlet. The fact that that got off does mean that SK Gaming are going to be able to pick up 2 kills there. John, the last man standing, might be able to find Cream, but he's getting healed up by Jetpacks. Good damage coming across from Jetpacks as well onto John, forcing him back onto the base to heal up a little bit. 1 turret picked up there by SK. Pretty solid push, though. 15 kills to 5. They're now tripling in kill score, and much like the sheep I was describing earlier who escaped into my school, SK Gaming are on a rampage.
What? What is that? That analogy doesn't even make sense. With the...
Well, you don't know what the sheep were up to in my school.
It's like that. It's like that movie, Killer Sheep. Do you remember seeing that? I don't know if you ever saw that
I've
movie.
not seen Killer Sheep. But,
No, it was.
I've
about
experienced
a movie
enough of that after the
so
incident.
I'm just wondering
so.
what these sheep were doing in your school, Jackson. I mean, they were rampaging across your school.
Yeah, I mean, literally, I came out of class. There was a sheep, and there were several sheep, and they were rampaging.
Well, they're not
My
just,
dad
well,
actually came to pick me up and got roped into herding the sheep using his car. It was a weird day. I gotta be honest.
But when so they were literally like storming across as a herd, or were they? Or
Yeah.
were they just grazing?
Yeah, it was like 20 sheep.
20 sheep, and they were
They
literally
weren't
rampaging.
grazing. They were inside. There's not
Okay.
much to graze on other than
I just
maybe
wondered whether they were in your
their
field.
victims.
Whether on your school sports field. I feel like this is we are digressing a huge amount right here, but there isn't really much to say for this game right now. SK just in such a dominant position. They secure the Kraken, and that realistically should be all she wrote for the first game on Team Clytia. It depends on how SK play it, but you know, they have this Black Feather. He's got the Serpent's Mask. He's got the Bone Saw. He's got huge potential with the Aegis as well to get through, block that afterburn, and deal with Aid Slip on this Scarf. Aid Slip not yet picked up an Eve of Harvest either, so he is just a sitting duck for Red Wolf. So yeah, I think this is almost all she wrote right now, and I think SK should be able to finish the game from this push here.
They're close to 10,000 gold in the lead. That is an almost insurmountable difference in the gold between the two teams. Cream running on the front line here, just trying to play interference. The Kraken starts to go into this last turret. Clytia, they need to win the fight before they deal with the Kraken, and right now it doesn't look like they can. Just Man already goes down. 8 Slip does get off the Dragon's Breath this time, but the damage out of Red Wolf and Jetpacks is insane. They pick up another kill. They want John, but he manages to get barely back onto the safety of his platform, with all 3 members of SK left alive, and Red Wolf just dealing with John by himself. It's going to be game 1 of the series going to SK Gaming. Clytia haven't won a game yet today. It's got to be weighing on their minds. They need to turn this around in game 2, or they are going to be taking 4th place in the second qualifier.
Yeah, and this does mean a lot. You know, we know these teams who have already qualified for the live championships, but this is seeding you're playing for. You know, this is the difference between you facing the absolute favorites in the tournament versus you facing someone that, seeding-wise, could be on your level. And all these teams are incredibly skilled, and you know, they're all at a similar level. But we do have teams that are clear favorites. You know, we do have teams that look like they are ready to sweep the championship by storm. So it's the difference between you winning the tournament or getting crushed and having to watch from the sidelines very early on. I want to point out in that last team fight, and it's something that I think I touched on during the game, the gauntlet